Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC on ESPN Plus, I versus Calvillo. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Jourdain Espinosa versus Mark De La Rosa. So look at this fight right here. You got Mark De La Rosa. He's a pretty good, well-rounded fighter. He has some solid jiu-jitsu, offensively and defensively. Striking, not the best. Speed, not the best. Then you go against Jourdain Espinosa. Super explosive, super athletic, solid wrestling, striking, definitely got some pop, got some speed, got some, he's fast, athletic. I think as far as technical wise on the feet, he definitely needs some more improvement as far as striking, definitely offensively and defensively. But I feel like against Mark De La Rosa, I feel like Mark De La Rosa is a more experienced fighter in a sense. But I feel like Espinosa with his speed, his wrestling, he can take De La Rosa down, control him on the ground. I'm not saying he'll just shut him out, but at least probably be able to have some success in the guard and just score some points with his wrestling. Then on the feet, I think he'll be quicker to the punch, be able to outwork De La Rosa, outland De La Rosa, and really just use his athleticism to close the gaps that he has, or the holes, or at least kind of cover up the holes he has as far as technique-wise. I still see competitive because Espinosa still needs improvement in some areas. So in this one, I just see Espinosa, like I said, being quicker to the punch, being faster, landing more shots, mixing in takedowns, getting control, and basically beating De La Rosa to a decision, like on all parts of it. So like I said, striking, wrestling, just overall dictating the pace of the fight, where it's going, and beating De La Rosa to a decision. So in this fight, I have Jourdain Espinosa via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Fili versus Charles Jourdain. So let me say that again, Charles Jourdain. So look at this fight right here. Charles Jourdain, he brings a pretty well-rounded skill set. He has some decent jiu-jitsu over his back. Not the most impressive, but definitely he has some good attempts. You can't just be resting in his guard. He has some good jiu-jitsu, good counters, good sweeps. He's like, you can't just sleep on him. Like, you just can't sleep in his guard. He's dangerous there. And on the feet, very unorthodox, a lot of good kicks, switches of stances, some good overhands, mixing in there. Like, very tricky, very high volume, and like a high output. Technical as well on the feet. I think how he beat Doo Choi in the last fight was basically because Doo Choi brought one tool, and yes, he was effective with that tool, but when you have that many tools, a guy just has one tool, there's ways to shut it off, shooting up his legs, throwing high kicks to throw off his timing, and it's really been unpredictable. It's given him a lot of different looks because he only has one weapon, so you could freeze up that one weapon, and then he becomes less effective. Like in the first round, Doo Choi was still looking solid, but then when Charles Jourdain started to get his timing and catching Doo Choi's punch, then he started, the course of the fight started changing. So what made Charles Jourdain so effective in the fight was basically because Doo Choi had one tool. But going against Fili, he's going against a fighter I think is 3 inches taller. I think had a 4-inch reach advantage over him. He's going against a fighter that's also high output, high volume, high work rate, and has the attributes of it. He has experience. So it's like you're going against a guy. I'm not saying they're the same exact fighter or do the same exact thing. If anything, Charles Jourdain is far more, unorthodox and stuff. He's far more unpredictable, like how he throws stuff out there. But I feel Fili is more technical overall than Jourdain. In between the two, he's the better wrestler. That's another key factor. Jourdain doesn't do the most takedowns grappling wise. He doesn't really attempt the most takedowns. He does do some, depending on who he's fighting. But in this fight, especially at this caliber, you're not going to see the most takedowns from Jourdain. You're not going to see the most control from Jourdain. And then between the two, at this level, at this current time, as far as mixing in at this level of the game, at this point of the game, Fili's the better wrestler. And he times it better to get with his own skill set. Good leg kicks, good boxing, good ring control, solid chin on him, solid work rate. I think it is basically at this point, similar, they both have, I won't even say similar, but at this point, Fili's taller, longer, plenty of tools, just like Jourdain has plenty of tools, and also the experience and the ability to mix in the wrestling. I think he just, as far as with his skill set and what he could bring, he just brings more tools at the moment. I think he'll utilize those tools better. He'll utilize that experience. He'll utilize his veteran experience as well. His experience, his veteran experience, his IQ from what he's experienced out there, mixing some takedowns, put up volume, push Jourdain back. I still see it as a competitive fight. Jourdain not going to lay down. It's not going to be no walkover fight. It's going to be competitive. But the mixture of the takedowns, along with the boxing, attacking the legs, the pressure, cutting off the cage, I think that's going to lead to Fili getting decisions. Close competitive fight, but I think it's clear that Fili wins, especially with the control and the takedown. So in this fight, I got Fili via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Merab Dvalishvili versus Ray Borg. So Ray Borg in his last fight against Ricky Simon, his striking was looking much more impressive. His wrestling defense needed a whole lot of work. He was getting little brother out there, but his striking looked much improved. Like he was hurting Ray Borg several times on the feet. I mean, he was hurting Ricky Simon several times on the feet. Yeah, they look similar, as they said in the fight, but they're not the same people. But either way, he was hurting Ricky Simon several times on the feet in that fight. And really in that fight, Ricky Simon was supposed to sprawl and then pick apart Ray Borg on the feet, but Ray Borg was holding his own on the feet. But the wrestling defense was not it. He was getting taken down by Ricky Simon. That really was more than so with one Ricky Simon to fight than his striking. Ricky Simon was winning off of his grappling, his takedowns, and being able to like just throw Ray Borg around and control him. Now you're going against a guy who was able to throw around and control Ricky Simon and Merab Dvalishvili. Like, I'm not saying he was just manhandled and beat Ricky Simon. Obviously, he lost to Ricky Simon, but in that fight, he was clearly the better wrestler, and Ricky Simon was struggling with his wrestling. Now you're going against a bigger, more relentless wrestler, an actual wrestler, and you just got manhandled by a guy who still got solid wrestling, but not the highest level wrestling at this weight class. And now you're going against one of the guys that might be the best wrestler at this weight class. I think Ray Borg definitely probably took this fight because he felt like this guy is one-dimensional. Like maybe if he could threaten with some submission, maybe he could catch his neck and get a guillotine or something, or like a neck choke on Dvalishvili, or maybe he feels like if he did, all he just had to do is work on his sprawl and he can outstrike Dvalishvili. But I just think it's too quick. It's like he just lost like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't think in that time, or even with that game plan or whatever your focus or whatever he thinks he's going to do in this fight, I don't think it's enough time to really adjust and for what Merab brings. I feel like he feels that he can just sprawl or be able to deal with the wrestling, or the fact that Merab is just a little bit more one-dimensional in a way. But I feel like the wrestling of Dvalishvili just on a different level. At this point, Ray Borg just didn't have enough time to really adjust to really deal with that. Merab is going to be relentless. He's going to get in takedowns nonstop, be on top of Ray Borg nonstop. And he's already had a loss in UFC to Ricky Simon by giving up his neck. So I think he's been working on that defense. He trains with a lot of good grapplers like Aljamain Sterling and what's his name? I'm forgetting his name right now. But the Long Island man, Ali Quintus. So he goes, well, he has a lot of good grapplers at his gym to deal with. So I think, yes, Ray Borg will have some good looks that he might be able to work on, but more so I think the relentless wrestling, the overpowering wrestling, the smothering wrestling of Merab Dvalishvili is going to be the tell of this fight. Takedowns and control from the start of the fight to the end of the fight. Yes, Ray Borg will have his flashes here and there, but those flashes will not be enough to win him the fight or get him to finish. Now to see Merab Dvalishvili just controlling this fight, probably 95% of this fight is with his wrestling and his pressure. So in this fight, I have Merab Dvalishvili via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the middleweight division, Roberson versus Marvin Vettori. So this fight was already supposed to happen, and I already predicted it. So basically, get to the conclusion of this fight right here. Roberson, the better striker. I think if this fight becomes like grit, like a fight you really got to grit and pull out victory to win, I think that could definitely really bite down and win. I think Roberson can grind out a victory in that type of fashion. Like they both get tired. They both start gassing and they just got to dig deep because Carl Roberson had a lot of fights like that over the past couple of fights where he really had to dig deep just to get that victory, and he even came with finishes. I think he got poked in the eye, was down on the scorecard, went back and got like a rear naked choke on a nice prospect. By the way, Carl Roberson, he's been winning more of those dig deep victories. But to get it to the point, like I was saying, Marvin Vettori, he's the bigger fighter, more volume, more well-rounded. He has a striking, even though Roberson's the better striker, but this is not a striking matchup. I think Vettori can still match Roberson, not match, but he can hold his own on the striking, but Roberson can't hold his own in the grappling with Vettori. I think Vettori's a solid, true brown belt, not some hand-me-down in the McDonald's bag black brown belt. He's a legit brown belt, so that's nobody to be messing with. So the pressure, the strength, the size of Vettori, the volume, along with that grappling approach. And Roberson doesn't have the best takedown defense. I'm not saying his takedown defense is easy. He definitely makes you work for it. But he can be taken down. He'll try to work his way back up to his feet. But the fact that he gets taken down and again this high level of a grappler, I'm not saying he's going to get submitted, but that's points right there. Getting taken down, getting pressured, having to deal with that takedown, then worry about what shots coming over top once you're getting the takedowns become successful. And then you're worried about the takedown. Then now you got punches and kicks coming over the top or coming around. I just feel like the pressure along with him having the more tools and being able to utilize the tools and been in there with some higher level fighters than Roberson has been in there with. So really the point, Vettori just more well-rounded, brings more tools, more size, the pressure, and the full game is going to be what wins Vettori the fight. So in this fight, I got Marvin Vettori via decision. Now on to our main event. We have in the women's flyweight division, Jessica Eye versus Cynthia Calvillo. So look at this fight right here. I actually feel like Calvillo is the bigger fighter, but when you look at the stats, Jessica Eye is 5'6" and Calvillo is listed as 5'4". I think Jessica Eye has like a 68-inch reach and Calvillo has like a 66-inch reach. So like in both stats, she has 2 inches of advantage, so in height and reach. I think the only thing that Calvillo has advantage in is age. Matter of fact, I don't think she's even younger. I think Jessica Eye is like 32 and Calvillo is 30 or something. I mean, now let's see. Jessica Eye is 33. Let me check that real quick. Calvillo is 32. So she has like a 1 year youth advantage on Calvillo's side. But what I see with this fight right here, regardless of what the stats say, I feel like Calvillo is the bigger fighter. I'm not saying she's going to be taller or longer, but she'll fight longer for sure because she does utilize more kicks. I think she's better at controlling range. Like I said, whoever kicks. And like I think she's physically filled out more, like wider. But also in this fight, this is Calvillo's first time fighting a flyweight. Even though Jessica used to be a bantamweight, this is Calvillo's first time truly stepping up. She's been fighting at like 120 in catchweight fights, but those been against 115 pounders because she can't make weight. So she's coming up for the first time. But all that being said, I think the strength might be an issue for Calvillo a little bit because you're going against a 125er who used to fight at 135 for a long time. She has some wrestling experience. She has some good boxing. But what I see Calvillo's path to victory is that Jessica, she has decent takedown defense. She has decent striking, but her striking is mostly boxing. But on the ground, like when you get to take her down, she doesn't have the most offense off her back. And Calvillo is a relentless grappler, probably one of the best grapplers that I will have faced. I think the speed Calvillo will bring up, given that she's been fighting at 115 pounders for this long. And some of the 115 pounders she's fought have been longer, lankier, and present more threats to her than I does. Because I is not the biggest fighter. She's kind of like on the shorter side. Shorter, where she thrived off was being shorter, having those fast hands, fast feet, because she was faster than people at 135. 125, not the same. Then she started using her strength a little bit more at 125. So at this weight class, she's usually been trying to bully these 125 females that come up from 115 or something, or were already 125ers. I don't think she can do that against Calvillo. I think Calvillo is not going to be as big as strong as she was at 115, but I think between the two, I would give the strength advantage to Calvillo. The grappling advantage definitely to Calvillo. I think as far as grappling wise, Calvillo's is definitely more dangerous off her back than I is. And on top, I doesn't really present too many threats. She's not really doing submissions attempts. She's not really hitting sweeps. She kind of just flat there. She's defensive there, but she's not really progressing back to her feet or attempting like. So she'll be content to be on her back, and that's not good against Calvillo. I think Calvillo's transition skills are too good. Her takedown, she has pretty impressive takedown offense. She's pretty good with her takedown offense. Her wrestling and her control on the ground is solid. Like I said, transition skills are solid. Ground and pound solid. I don't see her like finishing Eye, but I feel like if she could take Eye down, I feel like she will have good success taking Eye down. And when she gets Eye down, I see her control is pretty much being up there. She don't have no no average control. Her control is up there. Like she has some decent to top. Some good to top notch grappling in the women's division. So take her down, be smothered on top, landing ground and pound, and really just working Eye. The 5 rounds kind of worries me because Calvillo with her cardio due to her weight cuts, but she's not really cutting weight in this fight because it's at 125. So matter of fact, I'm not even gonna worry about the 5 rounds in this fight. So Calvillo will be able to take the fight to the ground. I think she'll be the fastest fighter out there, which will be a problem for Eye. She won't be giving up strength like I would want in this fight. So I feel like she'll be the stronger fighter, the faster fighter, the better grappler. She'll have the longer range of strikes, be able to kick Eye from ranges that I cannot land from or won't be able to land as well from. I think Calvillo's kicking range, like her footwork and control from the kicking distance is better than Eye's, and I think where she's going to keep Eye a lot. And then when Eye tries to close that range, she's going to get caught with get timed and countered with takedowns and controlled, and really lose a lot of the rounds or give up a lot of control time to Calvillo in this fight, especially with ground and pound, building up points off takedowns, control. And that's going to be this Taylor's fight. Kicks from the outside, forcing Eye to try to close that distance, then timing takedowns, controlling her for large portions of the rounds, landing ground and pound, getting some transition out there, and really making Eye work just to get back to her feet. Whether she gets back to her feet or not, that's going to be points, that's going to be times, that's going to be ground and pound. It's all just going to add it up. That didn't go over the course of 5 rounds. I see competitive. I don't see it as a flush wipeout for Calvillo. I don't see a finish, but I do see a clear-cut decision where Calvillo wins it based off her control time and her takedowns. And it's really fighting a better game plan and is presenting the style that wins this fight. So in this fight, I have Cynthia Calvillo via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, I versus Calvillo. And as always, thanks for watching.